All right, it's Saturday of week 2, which means we're on day 12. Monday, this coming, will be, of course, day 14 of 40. And I want to share some of the biggest lessons I've learned so far. I mentioned a quote a couple of videos ago by Anthony Robbins, that goes something like, it says something like, you can be winning, but feel like you're losing if the scorecard you're using is unfair. And that is, for me, as somebody who tends to be more of a perfectionist, that's a very, very important thing to keep in mind. I have noticed, and there's few things more powerful than self-awareness. If we want to become a better version of ourselves, we have to, I think, understand ourselves so that we can see our shortcomings or areas for opportunity, things that we can work on. We can acknowledge our strengths and play to our strengths, but it's very powerful to be self-aware. And most of the things that we do in our day-to-day life, and this is very relevant to the fat release, weight loss, if you want to call it that, clients I've worked with, most of the things we do in our life are automatic. About 50 to 60% of our behaviors, there are probably different stats on that, are automatic. We do them without thinking. The brain figures out a shortcut, a way to save resources and allow us to repeat a behavior without thinking too much. That can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing, because if you're, of course, carrying out a behavior like comfort eating and you're not thinking about it, you're not aware that it's happening, you might start going to the gym, but you're swimming upstream. You need to address certain habits, and that starts with awareness. So that quote by Tony Robbins, you can be winning but feel like you're losing if the scorecard you're using is unfair. For me, and I would suggest it could be for you if you tend to be more of a perfectionist, is a very, very useful thing to keep in mind. And I find that we sometimes go to these courses, like I've been to a course tonight, which I will talk about in a second. We can read books and it's so easy to forget the nuggets, those sort of golden bits of wisdom that we've learned. And that's okay, that can just happen, which is why it's important to read and learn and stay in that sweet spot to be reminded of these important things. But yeah, I've just noticed that throughout most of my life, I've become more aware, which is exciting, because when you become more aware of something, you can actually start to do something about it. It's not in your subconscious controlling you, like Robert Jung spoke about. Unless you make what's in the subconscious conscious, you will be controlled by invisible forces and have no idea why. Like, you'll be going down a life path thinking you can't do anything about it, or not even aware that there's something to change, and life will be happening to you. So you've got to become aware of yourself and your behaviors. But to go back to that quote, you can be winning but feel like you're losing if the scorecard you're using is unfair. I have been working on some stuff solidly. I listened to again, Iman Gaji speak about online learning, and he was on this podcast speaking to this young guy who was thinking about going to college, as they call it in America, university, and spending $100,000 on, I think, a computing or coding degree or something like that. And you could see a man looking at him. He asked him, "Are you passionate about this?" And he said, "No, it's just something." And Iman said to him, "Listen, take 20,000 or 30,000 and study online courses and mentorships. And I don't know if he said guarantee, but I think he was saying there's a very, very high chance that you will have a skill set. You will have invested in yourself and have a skill set which will be more powerful than doing a degree." And one very key thing that Iman said was that it won't be one course that you do that changes your life. Like, I think, again, as a perfectionist, I've taken so long and been so careful to choose which courses I invest in, because I don't want to get it wrong. You know, I have that perfectionist tendency. I want to make sure I get the best guy. And I think there's something to be said for that. You want to be wise with how you invest your money in education, get recommendations, don't get caught up by hype, clever sales pages and stuff. But what Iman was saying, what he said was, you will take bits from each course that you do. So say you do 5 courses that are 5,000 each, or you wouldn't do that. You would do more like 10 courses over the course of the degree period equivalent, which would be say 3 years. It won't be one course that changes your life. You will take bits from each course. I think he openly said, which was really smart, half of it will just be junk, okay? And that's okay. 30% of it will be, you'll take bits from each course, and then there'll be 20% Pareto's law, the 80-20 rule. There'll be 20% which will be knockout. You will really benefit from those courses. And I looked back at my last 18 months, and I've just been studying. It made me feel good because I've invested in and studied 4 or 5 online courses, and I've done them thoroughly. I've always gone the extra mile. When there's been an optional exercise, I've done it, and I've done it fully. I've got pages of powerful notes and a big kind of reservoir of content, which, you know, God willing, I'll be able to monetize and give value to people and help a lot of people with. I'm very, very passionate about the mission I'm on. And so to go back to that quote again, you can be winning but feel like you're losing if the scorecard you're using is unfair. It took the pressure off me, because I'd done all of this studying, and I would think, when I saw another course that I thought, wow, that would really fill in these missing pieces of the puzzle, a big part of me would feel guilty, like I failed, like, wow, I have already done these other 3 courses, I should already be making this much money. But what Iman said, which I think is very insightful, is no, invest in several courses, and don't put the pressure on yourself, or the guy who produced the course, guy or girl who produced the course, that is going to be the thing that gets you to whatever your goal is, 6 figures or whatever it is. So that was like a nice reality check. And also, to go back again to that quote, you can be winning but feel like you're losing if the scorecard you're using is unfair. My scorecard was, you do this course and you need to have increased your monthly income by 5,000 a month within 8 weeks or something. Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, that could happen. You could increase your income by 50,000 if you're in the right place, if you've laid the foundation and done a ton of work and upskilled. You know, to go back to this book, Atomic Habits, there is the point where the ice melts. You know, you need to cross the valley of disappointment, he says. You know, you get to a point where the temperature increases, and then suddenly the ice melts. And it's like that, you know. It's like a valley of disappointment where you're putting work in, not much happens. And then just at this last point there, it all kind of pays off. So, yeah, that quote's really important. And then the other thing is, I found it really hard to focus the last week. And I thought back to 18 months of studying these online courses. And to be sat in a cafe, and yes, I know all of the cafes in this area in West London, and they know me, actually, a lot of them. I move from cafe to cafe to make it interesting. I will use binaural beats. I will go for walks in between work blocks. I've got all of the tactics that I know of to kind of hack productivity. But I think the fact is, when you're studying these online courses and you're doing it on your own in a cafe for like 3 or 4 1-hour work blocks, like 4 hours just studying a course, and really, again, putting that pressure on yourself. If you do tend to be a perfectionist, you're trying so damn hard to make sure that you make this work. Again, now I don't think that way anymore, but even a couple of weeks ago, I think, right, this is the course that needs to get me to this income. It's like a lot of pressure, and it's not going to happen that way. I do 3 or 4 hours of study on these courses and do the exercises and produce all this material ready for the marketing funnel or whatever. And I would get to the end of the day and think, well, why didn't you do 8 hours, 8 1-hour work blocks? Like, you could have done more. Or what happens if you apply these notes to this funnel, this marketing funnel, and it doesn't work? And yeah, it's really made me realize how this perfectionist tendency, judging yourself unfairly if the scorecard you're using is unfair, is you've got to be aware of yourself. This is really a note to myself, actually. And so I went to an event tonight by a guy called Paul McKenna, and he's written these books with big claims in the titles like Change Your Life in 7 Days, or I Can Make You Rich, or I Can Make You Confident. A couple of his other titles here. And honestly, I think that this stuff, he studied NLP under Richard Bandler, one of the co-creators. There's actually 3 creators of NLP, so I'm told. Actually, Frank Pucelik, I think he's in Russia, but anyway, Richard Bandler, John Grinder. He studied under Richard Bandler, and this NLP stuff, which Tony Robbins studied under John Grinder, yes, it can be really powerful. And again, a man saw an NLP coach. I actually asked him about that when I saw him briefly. Unfortunately, I kind of caught him when he was halfway through a marathon, waiting for one of his team members to come around the park, the kind of lap. So it was not an ideal time to talk. But yeah, he seems like a pretty gracious guy, so I'm sure he understood. I was just really trying to get a nugget of information from him to help me on my own journey. But NLP is powerful, but you do have to be in the right place for it. Like a lot of people who go to these self-help seminars, I think we've probably all been there. I've been there maybe. You go in and you kind of sit down and it's like you're thinking, feed me, change me. And again, to go back to what I said about these online courses, I don't think you can go to one event and expect it just to... Yes, you could have a big realization. I certainly had that at a Tony Robbins event I went to in Los Angeles. Boy, did I have a big realization there. But it was my own self-inquiry. He kind of was just a guide on that journey, if that makes sense. So I think to give yourself to the event, your expectations, and kind of be of the mind, fix me. I'm not sure that's a great thing to do. I think you've got to be hungry. You've definitely got to be willing to apply what they tell you to do in the event. Like this guy, Paul McKenna, he gave a couple of tips, strategies, and he said, take this home and do it at home, like run through this multiple times. And I caught him at the end and I said, Paul, have you got some advice on this, and this? Like, how much is a one-to-one session? And I didn't know what he was going to say, 1,000 or 3,000 an hour. And he said, look, I don't do one-to-one sessions anymore, but what is it? And I said, oh, it's in regard to limiting beliefs and business. And he said, just get my book, I Can Make You Rich. Bit of a crass title, but he said there's some really powerful exercises in that. And I think this is often the case with these guys. They're very smart. They have put a lot of their best work into these. And if you just do the exercises, it can really affect you. But again, I say that it is a combination of a number of things. Like, yes, doing the exercises in the book, but then applying it in the workplace, failing and being okay with that, looking for the learning and going again. And he spoke about this in the events tonight. He had a woman go up there who was petrified of public speaking. Like I thought she was going to faint at one point. She started to kind of veer, and he kind of put his hand on her to keep her upright on the stage. She wanted to sit down, and anyway, she was in front of 500 people. And within 5 minutes, he coached her to being able to speak. He went to the back of the hall and she was speaking to all these people. It was quite amazing to see. I've lost my train of thought actually now. Goodness me, I'm not going to edit this, so no pressure to get my thoughts back. Yeah, sorry. So he said to me, just get that book. I Can Make You Rich. Do the exercises in it. So yes, go to these courses. Don't expect it to fix you, but take what you can, apply it. And he also spoke in the evening. That was probably the thing I wanted to say next. He said, and he kept weaving it into his speech. He was trying to implant the belief into people's minds, I think. He kept saying, and it's fine to fail because failing is how we learn. He kept suggesting it and reframing it, failure as something different. So look, this is a long video. It's 16 minutes. If anybody's watched it this far, then I hope it's been helpful to you. Yeah, I'm really quite inspired by this guy. This Paul McKenna event tonight was really interesting. I'm familiar with NLP. I've studied it a fair bit. But those are the three learnings, I think. The three learnings are: make sure the scorecard you're using is fair. You know, if you're studying online courses, don't necessarily do one course and think this is going to fix you. I think that, and that's hard because as I say that, I'm thinking of some guy out there or girl out there who may be thinking, well, all I've got to invest is £1,000 in me. And that is hard, yeah. You may need to do a few courses to get a rounded skill set. Definitely read books like, here's another great book, The Go-Giver, about business, philosophy. I'm trying to think, I'm imagining someone out there how I could help you now. This is a good book. I studied this in depth. You can probably see my notes in here, like pages of notes that I made on this. That's good. Yeah, well, I hope this has been helpful, but use a fair scorecard, become aware of your expectations of yourself. If you're studying online, some courses, and you're sat in a cafe, for example, or at home, I cannot work at home. I don't know how people do that, just stay in the house all day. So if you're studying in a cafe doing online courses, I do feel you, like I sympathize with you, to do like 6 1 hour work blocks, 6 hours studying online. That's a lot of study. And to be like I've been doing that for 18 months. It's hard, you know. I think it's hard, but you have to keep your goal. McKenna also spoke about this tonight. Your goal should be crystal clear. You should be absolutely clear on what you need to achieve. So yeah, if you're studying online, then give yourself some grace. Find a way to mix it up. Get some variety in there. Give yourself credit. If you get even 3 1 hour work blocks, then hey, that's good. What was the last thing? I can't remember. It's very, very late. And this is probably a terrible video in many ways. I'm not going to edit this. It's just a very raw snapshot into my journey. But yeah, I hope that's been maybe helpful to someone or not. It's all good. I'm practicing speaking more on the camera. It's a useful skill to have, I think, and speaking in front of people, of course. But yeah, study online. If you're studying online, don't expect yourself necessarily to do 6 to 8 hours of work blocks. you may need to do multiple courses to get the skills that you need to get to where you need to get to. Definitely, if you can mix with a community of entrepreneurs, or get someone else, even a friend, talk to them about your journey and your vision. You know, practice pitching your products to them, or your vision, sharpening that, how you want to help people with whatever your service is. Yeah, these events, go to them. Don't expect them to fix you totally, but take what you can from them, and then practice anything they give you at home. Read books, and yeah, I think that's what I've learned. I'm using these videos as a form of journaling. I've heard lots of successful people journal, but for me to be sat there for 10-20 minutes of writing in a diary is I don't really want to do that, to be honest, at the minute, at this stage. Maybe that'll change, but we will see. Yeah, so I hope it's been helpful. Day 12 of week 2. I'm feeling pretty good. I've been training a lot. Day 14 coming up this Monday. Let's see where this goes. This evening did have quite an impact on me, I think. I was in the right place to receive it. I think after you've taken action and failed and you've struggled on your own, then you're in a better place to go to one of these courses and soak in like a sponge any advice they give you, rather than, I don't know, just... I've been to a number of Tony Robbins courses, and I think a couple of them I went to, maybe one of them in particular, I wasn't really in a good place to receive. I was exhausted from work. I probably I wasn't really hungry for change. So anyway, I'm just talking for the sake of talking, I think, now. So I'll draw it to an end here. Hope it's been helpful to someone. Yeah, pop any questions you have in the comment section down there. It'd be cool if I got a subscriber. It's probably the worst time to ask for a subscriber now. It's 22 minutes into this video. But if anybody does get this far, then hit a subscribe button. Please hit that subscribe button. That would be really cool to add 1 subscriber. And or the thumbs up. At least click the thumbs up. It's down here somewhere, here or here. That would be cool. My first ever like on a video. And if you have any weight loss questions, I have a master's degree in sports nutrition, performance nutrition, so I know a good deal about food and or permanent weight loss, intelligent habit change. There's a great book here on intelligent habit change, which I think I would have told you about already on this video, The Winner Effect. Once you've got some wins under your belt, it does actually change your brain a bit, opens up possibility. Yeah, but if you have any questions about any of it, or my travels, or my experience of going to Tony Robbins events, I've been to Date with Destiny, I've been to 3 Unleash the Power Within's, his weekend thing. One of them had quite a massive impact on me. I've done Richard Bandler's NLP course. I did the practitioner. I did John Grinder, a master practitioner under John Grinder. But again, I think I was going to those. This was maybe 8 years ago I did that. I was going to those with the mindset of feed me, fix me, give me all the answers. And I think that was wrong. I think you need to go hungry, having tried something yourself, and be like extracting stuff, like soaking it up like a sponge. But if you have any questions, ask them. I'd be very happy to help you. And yeah, take care. If anybody's watched this far, then wow. Okay, take care, all the best.